Hello, 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 hello. John Mason, how's everybody? Hope you're all well, keeping cool, keeping yourself safe during the pandemic. And yes, it's still out there. Certain uh, institutions, though restaurants uh, and other places are slowly but carefully reopening. That's the way it should be. And while I'm on the subject, uh, let's continue to demand of our elected officials, all of them from president on down, that that work be that work be done to fight the pandemic, like, like be able to hire more health workers, uh, more research and production into vaccines and other treatments, more production of masks and gloves and ventilators and PPEs. We deserve it. We don't deserve this. We don't deserve this situation. We must keep fighting. And now I come to our topic. So much going on. You've heard of how, with the recent questions about police violence against communities of color, and they're all too real. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, so many others, which is part of the racism endemic in our society, with cell phone cameras recording such crazy incidents as any white person demanding to see the papers of any black person they think shouldn't be there. It's getting ridiculous. But now we're at a period of soul searching, way long overdue. Should have done this long ago, where these statues of Confederate leaders, Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, all of them are continuing to come down in cities even in the hardcore South. And even in the military, there's a discussion finally taking place in the military. I look forward to when they go beyond discussing and go into implementing of removing the names from certain southern army bases in the southern states that have been named after Confederate generals like Robert E. Lee, A.P. Hill, Braxton Bragg, Stonewall Jackson. I mean, these bases were named after the generals who led the forces that tried to destroy the United States. And we are honoring these traitors. That's what these guys were, traitors. Lee, Jackson, Jefferson Davis, A.P. Hill, Braxton Bragg, all of them. And of course we hear about what a tactical genius Lee was, but quite frankly, no, there's always this saintly myth about Robert E. Lee. There's this wonderful article in the Atlantic Monthly about the real story about Robert E. Lee. Not such a kindly Christian gentleman after all. I mean, he was cruel to his slaves and was confident in their so-called inferiority and preferred to fight for his home state of Virginia rather than for the country he swore an oath to uphold and defend, and he was trained to uphold and defend for all his career. And there's also Braxton Bragg. I mean, I'm currently reading Bruce Catton's centennial history of the American Civil War, and quite frankly, Bragg was just the most incompetent excuse of a military commander they could find. And the only reason Jefferson Davis moved Bragg to certain commands as the war progressed or regressed for the South, the attitude is, well, who else have we got? And the names, anyway, the names of those bases are being questioned, hopefully soon changed. And our glorious commander-in-chief isn't having any of it. He's still playing to his racist base. They knew what those generals fought for. They knew what that Confederate flag was about. And this is part of the many disputes between Trump and the military brass. Like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Miley, has pretty much apologized for taking part in Trump's photo op march towards the church after attacking the protesters. And now there's reports that members of the D.C. National Guard are just demoralized at having to attack their fellow Americans. That's not what they signed up for. And now yesterday our glorious commander-in-chief gave the commencement address at West Point, hauling the cadets onto the field so that he could have a crowd to orate to. Never mind the pandemic still going on, rattling off some idiot babbling. And yes, that's our commander-in-chief. To our brothers and sisters in the armed forces, I say, please do not be at war with your fellow Americans. Please remember your oath to the Constitution. Please do not commit any illegal order. And speaking of America, the discussion continues also about the glorious Confederate battle flag. And it was the whole discussion is on. Hopefully they'll stop discussing and start implementing about removing the Confederate battle flag from portions of the southern states' official flags. Like the battle flag and the Confederate statues weren't just put up immediately after the Civil War. They were put up as the movement of Jim Crow and the implementation of racial segregation took place, to remind African Americans that the North won the war, but the South won the peace. And these statues and other memorabilia were put up. And as the civil rights movement ginned up, the statues again showed a spike in production, along with the implementation of the Confederate battle flag onto southern state flags. And the removal of the so-called Confederate flag, which is really all in all the flag of the Army of Northern Virginia, is now coming down. Even the military is questioning it. The Navy and the Marine Corps have implemented orders to ban Confederate flags from their installations. Good for them. And also NASCAR, the stock car racing organization, which is part of Southern good old boy culture, is also banning the Confederate battle flag in its events. The times, they are changing. I mean, it's still progressing. I mean, the social change didn't stop in the 60s and early 70s. It's still going on, under our noses. We're still working on it. It's not a fad item like the hula hoop and the mood ring and the pet rock. It's a commitment. It's a cause. And we will continue it. It's a serious business, not for dilettantes. And I commend all the people out in the streets taking their chances with the COVID, but being cautious, like wearing the mask and everything, to protest all the racial injustices that our society faces. Oh, by the way, today, June 14th, is the birthday of our glorious Commander-in-Chief. And I would like to take this time to say, fuck you, Donnie. Okay, on that cheery note, let's continue learning and meeting and educating and voting. Yes, vote. Please go out there and vote when the time comes. Thank you. Bye.